Think about it. Every single day, we're creating and consuming just a massive amount of data. But have you ever really stopped to think about how it's all organized? Well, understanding the hidden structure of data is the key to unlocking its power, from your social media feed all the way to complex medical records. So let's break it down. This quote from John Naisbitt just hits the nail on the head, right? We have this endless stream of information coming at us, but how much of it do we actually understand? The secret to turning all that noise into real, usable knowledge is to first understand its shape and its form. So that's the big question, isn't it? How is all this information actually organized? It's definitely not just one big, messy pile. Data actually comes in a few different forms, and knowing these structures is the secret to unlocking its true value.
All right, let's start with the easy stuff. In a kind of perfect world, with the type of data we're all probably the most familiar with, structured data. Just imagine a perfectly organized spreadsheet or a super neat filing cabinet where everything has its own special spot.
So what makes it structured? Well, it has this predefined model, which basically means it's predictable, it's orderly, and it fits perfectly into those familiar rows and columns of a table. This rigid organization is its superpower. It makes the data incredibly easy for computers and for us to process and analyze. Okay, take a look at this. This is a perfect example. Each row is its own unique entry. In this case, a specific course evaluation. And each column, that's a distinct piece of information about that entry. The semester, the instructor, class size, and the rating. Every single piece of data has a designated home, which makes it all so clean, clear, and simple to work with. But let's be real for a second. The world is rarely that neat and tidy, right? So let's step into the messy reality of data and meet the most common type you'll ever encounter: unstructured data. If structured data is that clean spreadsheet, unstructured data is like a chaotic room just full of notes, photos, and recordings all thrown together. It's actually pretty simple. Unstructured data, it has no set model, period. There are no neat rows, no tidy columns to slot information into. It's totally freeform, which makes it both incredibly rich with detail and, much more challenging to analyze. It's really the native language of human communication. And believe me, you are swimming in this stuff every single day. The text in your emails, your social media posts, all the photos and videos you scroll past, even your audio messages, all of it is unstructured. It's the raw, unfiltered material of our digital lives. And if you want to understand just how huge this is, get this. In a critical field like medicine, about 3/4 of a patient's record is unstructured text. We're talking about things like a doctor's detailed notes or a discharge summary. This isn't just random info, it's a vast, untapped resource for insight and discovery. So, let's just put it side by side to make it super clear. On one side, you've got the high organization of structured data, perfect for those spreadsheets. On the other, the low to no organization of unstructured data, like raw text and media. We are talking about two completely different worlds here. Okay, so we have the super organized and the super chaotic, but is there something in between? What if we could get the best of both worlds? Yep, there is, and it's called semi-structured data. Think of it like a hybrid. It doesn't use that strict table format, but it does have tags or other markers to separate different elements and create a kind of hierarchy. This makes it readable for both people and machines. And I guarantee you've seen this stuff before, even if you had no idea what it was called. I mean, think about it. The HTML code that builds every single website you visit, that's a form of semi-structured data. And the same goes for things like JSON and XML, which are kind of the backbone of how many modern apps talk to each other. All right, let's look at this snippet of something called JSON. See how it's not a table, but it still has structure, right? Each piece of data, like Fall 2020, has a label that goes with it, a key, like semester. These little key value pairs act like a map, giving the data context without forcing it into those rigid columns. Okay, so structured, unstructured, semi-structured, why should you care? Why does any of this actually matter? Well, because identifying the structure of your data is the absolute first question you have to answer before you can do anything else with it. It reminds me of this classic quote from Sherlock Holmes. Before you can build a theory or create a model or find some incredible insight, you have to understand your raw material. You have to understand the data itself. And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. This is literally the foundation of any data science project. You have to identify the structure first, because the tools you're going to use to clean, prepare, and ultimately analyze that data are completely different depending on what you're working with. So, what's the big takeaway here? It's simple. The structure dictates the strategy.
Choosing the right path from the very beginning is the difference between finding a brilliant insight and ending up with totally flawed conclusions.
And that really leaves us with a huge, exciting question to think about. For decades, we've been the masters of structured data. But the next great frontier is in that 75%, that messy, unstructured world of text and images and audio. As AI gets better and better at understanding all this chaos, what incredible new forms of knowledge are just waiting to be unlocked?